Howdy folks, James at Rexem, rexem.com.au. Rexem is what we do, and welcome to podcast number 1, video podcast that is. It's a series that I thought would be really great to touch base with feral animal controllers, target shooters, ask some questions, get some information. There's always something in a conversation that you can pull something out of, and I just wanted to say a very warm welcome to our very first guest, Mr. Lucas. Mr. Lucas, thank you for being a guinea pig and being our first guest.
It's a pleasure, mate. Honoured to be here.
Oh, well, mate, it's been something I've been planning for a while, and we had a try yesterday and had a massive storm come in and ruin that for us. But thanks again for taking the time to have a chat to us, because I think you're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I think somebody somewhere is gonna learn something new and hopefully follow a bit of a trajectory based on the information that you're providing to people today. So again, thanks.
Yeah, mate.
Thanks.
Hope we can help.
I'm sure you will. So just to give the viewers a bit of a rundown on what we're talking about today is Lucas is a professional harvester and feral animal controller, and his caliber of choice is the 223 Ackley, which I also had up until recently. It's a fantastic, in fact, probably my favorite Ackley case. I'm sure that a lot of you would agree it's a great little round. And how many of these do you own personally, Lucas?
Mate, I've got 3 on the go at the moment.
Unreal. So I think we're going to pull something out of that. So first and foremost, and by the way, Lucas, if you want to just interject with something or a question of your own or whatever, just go nuts. Like it's just like a conversation, right? So,
Perfect.
so first of all, tell everyone a little bit about you, man. Tell us about yourself.
Mate, so I'm a professional harvester here in the New England district of New South Wales, round in Burrell. I shoot full time, mate. This is all I do for a living. That's pretty much me.
And how many nights a week do you reckon you'd be out there shooting?
Mate, on average, that's 3 to 5 nights a week, just depending on numbers and supply and demand. Basically, is our biggest thing.
Okay, so it's fair to say that you shoot a lot of ammo a year. You got pretty experienced in shooting.
Mate, yeah, sort of anywhere between that 8 and 10,000 rounds a year on average. On a good year we might go up to 11. So yeah, fire quite a few rounds every year.
Yeah, sounds like it. And do you want to just tell people, because I see it on forums all the time, like people who want to start that journey into being a professional harvester. Like, how did that start for you?
Yeah, mate. So I was pretty lucky. I was sort of born into the industry. My father was a full-time skin shooter back in the day, and then I grew up, trapping rabbits with Dad back when it was, a big thing, shooting foxes. Then when I was about 15, I started with another local guy here in Bundara, small town not far from where I live. Off-siding for him through to when I turned 18, and then I got my own commercial harvester's license and started shooting then. The industry went through a bit of a shake-up there a few years in, where we couldn't get tags and stuff, so I bowed out. Got married, had kids, life got in the way, and about 5 years ago I kicked off again. And since then I've shot full time for nearly the last 5 years straight.
Yeah, it's funny how starting a family sort of puts things on the back burner a bit, right?
It does, mate. Put the kibosh on it for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, you say like getting married, but like, yeah, there are some universal truths, I think, to that. You can't avoid them, but
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Mate, I'm lucky now. My kids are old enough that they come with me these days, so they've been born into it as well. So
that's unreal.
kids have been hunting since I was 6 weeks old. So
Awesome.
pretty lucky there.
Yeah, no objections from the wife for that?
Nah, mate, definitely not. Nah,
Unreal.
nah. She even comes with me now. So yeah.
Unreal. That's perfect. Well, for the young fellas out there who are thinking about becoming a harvester, is it a career path you would choose again, or would you advise people that this is a great career path? Like, would you
Mate, it's certainly been good to me over the years. There is good money to be made there, but at the moment the industry is going through a big shake-up. The supply is outweighing the demand at the moment, so finding somewhere to sell your animals and stuff is very tough at the moment. I'm very lucky with the local supplier I shoot to here. I don't have too many issues, but I know a lot of other companies are struggling. Just it's a great lifestyle, but at this point in time, it's a very hard industry because there's just not that many places to get rid of roos, especially. Yeah,
Okay, that's fair.
but it's certainly an awesome lifestyle.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question, man. Like, what's the best thing about it? Like, what do you really enjoy about that role in particular?
Mate, I just love the fact that I'm out in the bush every night. I'm as happy with my own company as being around anyone else. So,
Hmm.
I'm very lucky. I've got some really good people around me that come with me quite regularly.
Okay.
Um, so it's as much a lifestyle as it's a career choice.
Yep.
You're your own boss. You do what you want. You get paid for how hard you want to work. If you want to work hard, the money's there. If you don't want to work hard, you're in for a tough slog.
Yep. No, that's
It's
that's
certainly not an easy living, but it's a good living when you have a go.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's I guess the motivated certainly would. It's like one of those jobs, I guess, where yeah, as you said, if you're motivated to make money and succeed, it's a good career path. But there's
Mm.
going to be a lot of people
Yeah,
out there who
definitely.
think they want to do it,
Well, definitely. Yeah,
and then
you start going out. It takes the fun out of your recreational shooting, definitely.
okay,
Because shooting just becomes a job. You know.
okay.
Um,
Do you do any
but
target shooting anymore?
mate, I was doing a little bit up until a little while ago, and then I sold my target rifle. And I've been waiting to build another one. So just in the process now. I've got a little 6BR up and running that I use for harvesting as well. I'm going to start having a play with it on the range again, just for something to break the everyday monotony of shooting roos, basically.
Okay, so that sounds bloody unreal. And actually, we'll go back to that. Can we come back to the 6BR setup after we talk about
Yep.
the 223 Ackley's? Okay,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
this is something that a lot of people are gonna obviously be interested in, because I think from a practical standpoint, the 223 you can shoot the crap out of it and fire form probably 300 to 400 rounds of brass in a single day, right? Like in a sitting, and still not flog your barrel out.
Yeah.
And it's cheap, and it's an impressive little performance. I mean, would like just for the 223 Ackley, it's one of the few cases I would actually Ackley. Would you agree with that, or
Yeah, definitely, mate. I've played with a couple of Ackleys over the years, and the game is not worth the hassle.
yeah,
Definitely, but the 223 Ackley, mate, like on your fire forming, I'm very lucky. I've just gone through on fire form 1,200 cases, running a standard 223 load in them, and that thing will still run a cloverleaf group at 100 yards while I'm fire forming cases. So
okay,
I did the testing initially, found that it shot. So while fire forming those cases, I've still been commercially harvesting every night with those fire form rounds,
yeah, right,
which is a massive bonus that you're not just wasting those rounds. You're still doing something with them.
yeah, absolutely. That's just efficiency, right, in your business. So, all right, well, tell us.
Definitely.
Let's just explore your firearm a little bit, because the again, people are going to have these questions like, can you tell me like the barrel length, profile, twist rate that you found just for your use, since you shoot 10 plus thousand rounds a year in them? What have you found with the Ackley that you really like?
Mate, so I like to run a 12 twist. I find it's just, the optimal for speed, performance, barrel life, stability of the 55 grainers. That's pretty much religiously what I use, is a 55 grain projectile. I like to run a 24-inch barrel. Some guys run shorter, some guys go longer. That's just what I found to be optimum. I like probably a fair bit heavier barrel than a lot of guys. I run a number 7.
Okay.
profile. I've even got one running at the moment, which is 1.25 inches.
Yeah, right.
So it's just a parallel barrel. And I'll probably go to that because it's easy to get and, shoots like a laser.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Do you find that the parallel barrel versus the tapered barrel, like just, I mean, for this particular cartridge at least, is that something you have less trouble working up a load for?
Mate, I've never had any dramas at all working a load for the Ackley. It doesn't matter what gun I've had them in. I think I'm on about number 7 barrel in the Ackleys.
Yep.
And yeah, never had an issue. All of them have actually run the same load. Full length size of cases every time. So each gun I can pick up the same load, throw them in every gun, and they all shoot at the same.
Okay.
And I think that's a factor of that big heavy barrel. Even the number 7 is a massive barrel. Like,
And do you run
they just seem to work.
made me think actually, because I was talking about this to another mate. With your crown, are you running an 11-degree crown or a 90-degree?
Yeah, 11-degree target crown, mate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, seems to be a lot of speculation on whether or not that makes a shit of difference anyway. But 11 degrees seems to be the pretty much standard for a lot of rifles these days. Actually, and another a big question people are going to have is, for the expenditure of time and to fire form your brass with, let's say, a 55 grain. What sort of velocity are you getting out of the 55 grain Rue bomb? Because I know that you're one of my great customers. So do you know what kind of velocity you're getting out of that at the moment?
Mate, so we're punching them at 36.50 out of the Ackley.
Okay, that's impressive.
I'd suggest if anyone's going to try and achieve that, work up carefully and slowly.
Are you saying that you load a bit warm?
Mate, they're hot. They're screaming.
Yeah.
We've got to run Magnum primers and everything to achieve that safely.
Yep.
The Ackleys don't show pressure signs terribly much.
Okay.
Is something I found. They wouldn't show any signs until they were fusing primers.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So you're running a Magnum primer, a small rifle Magnum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I run CCI 450s.
Right. Okay.
Across the board in all 3 guns that I run.
Okay, and with the, I was going to say the powder. Like, what powder have you found that is your go-to for this kind of performance?
My holy grail is 06H. I run it in just about everything I own. I've just found it to be so universal, so consistent, and a very clean burning powder. So when big nights, sometimes we'll fire 75 shots a night, 80, sometimes 80, like. Just depending on what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Some nights more, depending if we're just culling, shooting pigs to get rid of them. Yep. So, that maintaining a clean barrel all night for that optimal accuracy is, a big thing. And I found a lot of other powders foul a lot worse than 06H. So, it works, so I stick to it.
Yeah, right. And one thing too, since we're on the subject, we had a conversation a while ago, and you told me that you noticed that the 50 grainers would wear out barrels significantly faster than the 55s, even with that small change of weight. What kind of change or life expectancy difference?
So we noticed about that 1,500 rounds in the barrel life, which is a massive amount when you're going through, as many rounds as I do a year. You're talking sometimes 2 barrels a year.
Yeah.
And I just found the terminal performance on bigger animals. We shoot a lot of fallow deer up here and quite a few large pigs and stuff. So, I just found the optimal performance of the 55 is where it's at for me personally.
Yep. And that was actually something that, came up really quickly. Like when we first released a 55, you were pivotal in making that happen, because you are a professional. You needed a 55. You wanted to try something Australian made, and our first iteration, when we first released them in a hurry, we didn't have all the guns that we wanted to test with, and we noticed that ones with longer throats it was leaving the case neck before it was actually making contact with the lens and shooting, in some guns, crazy groups. And within 2 weeks, we just came back and it totally changed the geometry, the length of the bullet, the bearing surface length, all of that. And so far, in your experience, I mean, I know that you're probably up to a few thousand of these at the moment.
Yeah.
What have you what's your experience been with the 55 Rue Bomb so far?
Mate, so the first thing I noticed was they were so easy to load for. Like, I didn't change any loads, I didn't change any seating depths. They just shot. Even from the get-go, like with the original ones, I was getting, cloverleaf groups at 100 yards. So I had none of the issues that some of the other guys did. I know we had, like with the faster twist barrels, with the 1 in 8s and that, with the longer throats, you had a few issues.
Yep.
But certainly for me, I was lucky. They shot lights out from the get-go. So they've been, and the new ones are just even better. And the other big thing I found was the higher BC bullets.
Yep.
Shooting in the wind, we were, I was using another manufacturer's bullets for years, and you might allow an inch to the left or right to get a dead centre shot, and you'd do it with these guys and you'd miss an inch to the left or right. So they certainly cut the wind a lot better.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because that was actually going to be a question of mine. I was going to be like, have you noticed like an improvement in trajectory and in bucking the wind? Because we took a lot of effort and time in getting like a longer length with a more aggressive ogive to try to improve performance over some of the more commonly used Rue projectiles. Let's just call them that. And I just wanted to be significantly better on those fronts, and
they are noticeably better.
Okay.
The last 2 months are probably two of the best testing months around this area for wind. We cop it all year. Every year it happens this time of year we get wind, and mate, we certainly noticed a difference in the wind.
Okay.
Of the BC, like, yeah.
And no problems.
It took me a week or two to actually get used to it.
Well, I'll take that as a compliment, I suppose. But
definitely, mate. Like, that's a credit to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And in terms of terminal performance, like, is everything as you would expect, or are your expectations being?
Yeah, mate. From Ruse right through to 80, 90 kilo pigs, mate. We are not having an issue with LOD. Yeah, mate. If you put it remotely in the right spot, it's all over.
Excellent.
Even like I put a lot of big pigs down, chest shot with it. In behind the front leg, just come behind the fighting pad and in behind the front leg, and they only take 2 or 3 steps and fall over. Okay. Because of that soft front section, they're going in, they're blowing up in the lungs, and they certainly kill way beyond their size.
Unreal. Perfect. Well, thanks for the little. I mean, it's not really shameless plug; it's an honest plug, and I appreciate that you're.
Well, mate, yeah, I'm not into bullshit. So.
You don't seem like the type, man.
Give the facts, mate, and you go with the rest from there.
Yeah, cool. Well, actually, I do have a question too about your Ackley brass prep. Do you anneal every time? Like, do you have an annealer, or do you just do it every 3 or 4 times?
I do, mate. Yeah. So I normally run a minimum of about 500 cases.
Yep.
But at the moment I'm back up over well over 1,000. And as soon as I get close, I start running them through the annealer. I've just got one of the ugly annealers.
Yep.
Simple and effective. No bells, no whistles, just works.
Yep.
And I just run them all through so that every time I know, in case of the case it slips through somewhere that's hard or something. For me, there's nothing worse than getting out and cracking a case and having to come home because you can't get it out, or you try and mitigate the problem. Is my biggest reason for doing it, and consistency.
Yeah, of course. And what brand of brass do you sort of go to? What's
mate? I religiously run ADI. It's tough, it's reliable, it's cheap, and it's readily available. So everything you need in our industry.
Yep, unreal. Well, is there anything like else that you can think that you would add to, um, like, there's going to be questions about combined overall length and stuff like that, but the reality is that's completely rifle dependent and all that sort of stuff. Are you?
Exactly, mate. Yeah, no, like I've had them done by a couple of gunsmiths now,
Yeah,
and each rifle is slightly different. But in saying that, I've been very lucky. I've hardly had to change anything
yeah,
with the Acklys.
and
Um, yeah, they've been very easy to load for. Like, um, yeah, very forgiving cartridge to load for.
yeah. Are you
I've
willing
got
to
with
tell
the
people?
volume I go through.
I was just going to say, are you willing to tell people how much O6H you're putting in that case, or is that sort of off limits? Do you want to
Oh,
say?
I'd prefer not
Yeah,
because it's fairly warm, mate. Like
yeah,
it's
fairly
a
warm.
it's a compressed load. So yeah,
Unreal.
don't know whether you got powder or not in them. So yeah,
Yeah, cool. And
you know.
actually, we were talking about scopes at one stage as well. What scope are you
Yep,
running?
mate. So I religiously these days run Zero Tex.
Zero Tech. Yeah, right.
Another Australian company, which is a massive bonus. I know they're made in China, but at least they're Australian owned, so that's got to be a bonus for us.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I run the Strive HDs or the Vengeance series, either the 4 to 20 or the 6.5 to 24, all 50 mil or 30 mil tubes.
Mhm.
I love that little fine dot reticle they've got.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and it's not that I haven't tried a lot of way more expensive stuff. It's just bought one on a whim years ago and absolutely love them. And now most of my mates run them as well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's probably a really appropriate question. And you're running all Hauer actions, right? I'm just assuming.
Mate, yeah, same deal religiously. Our actions, might do a few little things to them that I like to do myself.
Yep.
Adjust the triggers, polish feed ramps, polish bolts. I also like to pull all my firing pins out, polish all my firing pins,
Okay.
just to improve lock time slightly,
Mhm.
which improves on accuracy.
Yep. Do you bush the bolts
Yeah,
with your
I've been
gunsmith?
lucky. I haven't had to bush any of them yet. I've got one there now that when the gunsmith did it the other day, he said we're probably going to have to bush it next time it goes back in. But that gun's been solidly used for 5 years
Oh wow. Okay.
as my main gun, and she's had, I think it's had 6 or 7 different barrels on it now.
Oh wow.
So it's done a gut load of work.
Awesome. Yeah. Right. Well. Look, I got to be honest. It's been really good, sort of just picking apart I just dropped the case. The 223 Ackley as like something
Yeah,
that isn't just fun and interesting and a little bit more performance, but is certainly like a really good higher performance cartridge for feral animal control. And I guess when you think about it, if you're shooting 1,000 rounds a month or at 500 or whatever rounds a
yeah,
month, running it
yeah,
once or twice through like an Ackley chamber to fire format, you've got that brass for the rest of the year, if not longer. It seems like a really reasonable thing to
exactly, mate.
do.
Yeah,
Like it really does, right? Like it makes sense
definitely.
to step that performance up a bit. Yeah. So I mean, as I said, I really enjoyed my 223 Ackley. I loved that thing, but I went back to a standard barrel to test obviously all of our projectiles, and yeah, and we've got the
Yeah,
69s and
yeah,
75s arriving next week now, and that's all confirmed. They are going to be here. So we need to have something
very interesting.
standard. But as soon as all that's done, man, I'm going straight back to my Ackley for sure. I love that little thing. It
Yeah,
was,
yeah. No, yeah, I'm the same. I've got one standard 223 here, just mainly when we first started with you, I bought it so that we can test other stuff as well. It's got a 1 in 8 twist in it.
mhm.
But yeah, once we're finished, it'll have the reamer put into it and open back up to an Ackley as well.
Okay, in an 8 twist.
So run it with the yeah, so we can run the 69s or 75s
Yeah, and I got to be honest, man, the
in an 8 twist.
69s in an 8 twist in an Ackley, which is what I was doing, was just phenomenal. Unreal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great little combo.
Yeah, no, definitely those nights, you know, when we know we're going to be into a lot of pigs and stuff, you know, that bit extra bullet weight's definitely a bonus.
Yeah.
You know, not that the 55s won't do it. It's just, you know, if you get them in the grass and stuff, it's handy to be able to punch that bit extra weight through the grass, mainly.
Yeah, and you certainly hear it when they find home. Holy crap, the noise those 69s make is just, it's really quite something. So, well, when that happens, man, let me know, and I'll send you some projectiles to get some thermal footage for me if you can.
Yeah, no, perfect, mate.
Awesome. All right, well, mate, is there anything else you would like to share with anyone who might be listening to this about either the roll or the 223 Ackley that you don't think we've maybe just sort of chatted about?
Mate, not really, hey. Like, it's all pretty straightforward. Like, yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to know anything, certainly reach out to James. He'll put you in contact with me. I'm more than happy to have a chat.
Yeah, man. No, look, that'd be great. Actually, that's something I never even considered. That's like a really good little networking tool. Because I was really interested to find out if you're running a parallel or a tapered barrel as well. Like, know, and you know whether you're pushing bolts and stuff like that. Like, because I don't do near the volume of shooting you do, so that's very interesting stuff for me. But yeah, all right. Well, Lucas, look, man.
Well, it comes back to personal preference, mate. Like, I know a lot of guys that shoot with a light barrel every night, but you know,
and that doesn't.
I just find personally that mate, I wouldn't do it. The impact changes too much over. If you get them start firing too many rounds, they get hot.
Okay.
Well, that's probably my biggest. That and stability. You know, the heavier gun off the rest is so much more stable.
Oh, actually, do you? Yeah. What stock are you running in these?
So I run all Cameron Hatcher stocks. Okay. So I'm going to all thumb holes these days. With a 3-inch wide 4-end on them, dead flat 3-inch wide 4-ends. Cameron makes an amazing product. Another Australian manufacturer. You know,
important to get that out there.
It is definitely, mate. Like, we need to support Australia, because as everyone's noticed now, when everything disappears, we've got to. You know, we need Australian manufacturers. You know, look at the primer shortage. I mean, you know, for someone like myself, it's scary. You know, I was lucky I got a little bit of a tip off early on and stocked up massively. So you know, we need to support Australia.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if it costs me an extra $50-100 or something to get a stock from an Australian-made guy, like, you know, people forget that puts food on their table, their kids in school. You know,
well, mate, it's a circle. It comes back to all of us eventually. You know,
absolutely. Yep. All right.
So, you know.
Well, man, look, I got to be honest. It's we're pretty much bang on half an hour, and that just for me seemed to fly through. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I think I'll keep doing these. I think that was really, really quite cool. And I certainly, if anyone has questions for Lucas, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. I'll put this video up on Facebook and on YouTube, and we can start, you know, just post your questions under there, and they'll get back to Lucas, and we'll make sure that, you know, if you've got any questions or queries at all, that they'll be seen by him on the Facebook page, and he'll be able to comment and answer those questions for you. Again, thanks for offering that. Look, I think there's going to be a lot of people.
No, mate.
Super curious.
You know, our industry's tough enough, mate. We need to help each other, like, instead of fighting against each other, which happens, you know, way too much.
Yeah, man.
You know, we're all for the same cause at the end of the day.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, Lucas, again, thank you. It's been a wealth of information. It's given me an idea from, like, I've already planned my next Ackley anyway, so.
Yeah. Nah, mate. You won't go wrong, though. I rate them extremely highly.
Yeah, it's a great little case. I absolutely love mine, so awesome.
For sure.
All right.
Very good, mate.
Thank you so much, Lucas.
Thanks, mate.
The first one. Okay.
Done well. Cheers, mate. See ya.
See ya. Bye.